Oh man, muscles are tight. I literally just got back from the gym. And when I was at the gym, I watched stuff that I haven't watched in a while. But I had a little memory from it, so I went to go watch the episode. It was the episode of first the show. I didn't even tell you what the show was. Um, Superman the animated series. It came out 1996. I was 6 years old. I'm 34 for those who don't know. I'm a 90s baby. 1990 I was born. And Superman the animated series came out in 1996. I ain't gonna front, that was a golden era, bro. Batman animated series, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. Superman, X-Men, Spider-Man, bro. Even like the Fantastic Four, Iron Man. Like we had a lot of hype shows. Then, Dragon Ball Z. Come on now, but Toonami, so on and so forth. But I was watching an episode of Superman, the animated series, that always stuck to me as one of the greatest episodes of a certain superhero. And it wasn't even his show. And it was The Flash. It was an episode, Superman versus Flash. They was racing for a charity. It was a charity event. And I'm not here to talk about that whole episode. But I am here to say that had to be the greatest moment in Flash's career in TV or movie, I guess you want to say. And I know some people will say, and I thought about it too, and I was like, well, no. The greatest moment for Flash was when he obliterated Brainiac and Lex Luthor in the Justice League TV show. And if you do say that, I agree. I mean, I understand. But I say this episode, the race with Superman, was the greatest for a different reason than just looking at the formula of the situation. The Flash episode was more impactful for me because of what happened around it. I'll give you a little story here. So I've never seen the Flash in anything. Yeah, I didn't really watch the Super Friends, the Super Friends where I was born. I didn't watch that till I got a little older. My dad introduced me to it later. So I never seen the Flash in action in anything TV or movie wise until that episode. I read on him in the comics, always liked the Flash, what he can do and all that stuff. Hold on. Sorry, I had to fix something on the computer. But yeah, this was my first moment. And the way they was advertising the Flash showing up on the Superman animated series, it had you hyped. I never forget my dad's reaction. My dad, he walked by, he came home from work. He was like, he saw the episode. He was like, is that Flash? Because we used to, watching as a kid, he'll walk by the room. He always would check on our room, make sure we're good. And I was like, yeah, Flash is going to be on the TV show. And my dad was like, and Flash is one of my dad's favorite DC superheroes. Iron Man is his favorite Marvel. That's why he loved it when they started making a live action MCU. Like, Iron Man's famous now, but he wasn't as famous back then before the MCU. My dad always liked it, though. He used to draw it as a kid. But Flash was one of his favorite DC heroes. He was like, when does that come out? And I remember WB Kids was advertising that episode for 2 weeks. It wasn't coming out 2 weeks until after the commercial came. So they showed the advertising commercial of them, and I never forget it when they showed it. And we thinking, oh, the weekend's almost here. It's going to come out this weekend. No, it was coming out 2 weeks later. But they knew the hype that it was going to have, that people was going to get excited. We didn't have social media, so nobody was making YouTube videos or it wasn't trending. You had to catch the commercial, and it was the talk of the town. I was living in Detroit at the time, and all the kids were talking about it. Even the adults, the grown men, like my dad and so on, was talking about it. And when I tell you the build up to just see the episode was memorable enough. Because everybody was talking about it. We were like, man, I never forget when the weekend came. The first weekend before, it came out the next weekend. But the first weekend, we like, you advertised it to not have it out this weekend. We want it now. And of course, they showed, which the cartoons back in the day used to do a lot, was they showed a rerun of an episode. And we like, it's not even a new episode of Superman, it's a rerun. So it was like, okay, we'll watch this. And if you grew up in my era, if you missed the new episodes, you missed it for a while. Everybody's going to be talking about it. There was no recorders or nothing like that. Well, there was like those VCR recorders, but if you didn't have that, you was out of luck. And so when that moment happened, the buildup was already big enough. We all are hyped and all that stuff. Then that Saturday morning happened. And when I tell you, my dad didn't really just sit around, watch TV with us like that. A couple things here and there, but not really. He was up and talk about it when it came. Y'all ready? What time is it again? What time does it come on? Because he didn't know this guy. I was like, around this time, I can't remember the time, but he's around this time. All right. And my brother, myself, and my dad was behind us, and we was like, and my mom was like, man, y'all really excited. Dad's like, it's the Flash. And so the build up for it was already hype enough to always remember that episode of why it was one of the greatest. Then the show came on, and it had one of the greatest openings for the Flash. When the ceremonies happen and Superman's waiting, and then out of nowhere Flash just shows up and just starts running in circles, and then he comes up and he's like, sorry I'm late, woke up 2 minutes ago. Then he looks at the crowd and I was like, bro, the voice actor I think for Flash, I like the voice actor in that show better than the animated, the Justice League show. I love both. Don't get me wrong. None of them are bad, but I don't know, the art style and the voice acting for Flash in the Superman animated series, I always liked more. I always said he was the best Flash, and it was short-lived, but I thought that was the best one. And then when Flash was flirting with Lois Lane, they ran to Superman to start doing another circle, and Superman just standing there and put his arm out to stop him and said, save it for the race. I loved it, because it was like, what? Because I ain't gonna front, in that era, like now we're used to seeing superheroes just being around each other. You see Daredevil with Punisher, you see Batman with Superman, the Avengers, so on and so forth. Back then, that wasn't a thing. This was before the Justice League. Like I said, I didn't watch the Super Friends, so I didn't see that. But it was usually, unless you're watching X-Men, it was usually a hero on his own. That's why when the World Finest came out, which if you don't know, that's Batman and Superman, bro, that was an even bigger event, which I'll make another video talking about how big that was. But it was just not a thing. So whenever it did happen, it was global news. Everybody in the neighborhood talking about it. When you saw, it was one of my greatest scenes ever. When they're getting ready to race, they put those little braces on so the signal can catch them or whatever. And they're ready to say, on your mark, get set, go. You see Superman getting prepared. He's like doing like this, you know, getting in his position to run. You look at Flash. Flash just smiling. As he say, on your mark, get set. I love that, because you think of Superman, he's in race mode. Flash is just cocky like, it don't matter, I'm about to win this. I don't know why that scene always sticks with me. On your marks. Hey, you see the other side. Get set. Go. Boom. And oh, bro, that and the sound effect when that happened. My dad was like, like this. He was loving it. Just the fact that they both were standing there in their own positions, and as soon as they go, boom, they just, the sound, go watch, it's on YouTube. Just look at that scene right there and put like headphones on. The sound of that was always classic to this day. And of course, the whole episode, the whole episode was good too. And then it ended, I never forget the end of the show. Superman's like, we got to finish our race here. And it's like, on your mark, get set, go. That was always a classical moment. And then what also made it more memorable was, for a long time, ever since that episode, my brother and I will always reenact that. Like, I'm 6, he was 3, and when I became 7, he was 4. Like, we was reenacting that for the longest time. And he always, you know, he's the younger brother, so I give him what he wanted. He always wanted to be Flash. He liked that moment too. He just stands there. And to be fair, my brother was the fastest one in the family, so it kind of made sense. I was known as the strongest one in the family, cousins-wise. I'm talking about like for the kids. I'm not saying like I was stronger than adults. I'm talking about for the adults, I was the brute of the family. My brother was the fastest of the family. So it kind of made sense why he wanted to be Flash. But we used to reenact it. My brother and my father would be like, okay, on your mark, my brother will stand just like this. And I'll be, get set. And we would run. My brother would always win because he was always faster. But moments that I just brought up was the reason why I used to always say that was the greatest Flash moment. Because I ain't going to front. There's always great moments that you get in movies. But for me, what always trumps it is the moments you get in that situation, outside the situation, the talk of it, the moments you have with your family, your friends, with a stranger. Those are what makes a scene even better. Because I can name a lot of scenes. I can name the scene when Superman and Batman v Superman, the Zack Snyder Batman v Superman, one of the greatest moments was when Batman was driving a Batmobile and drove it, and Superman was just standing there. And when Batman turned the corner, you just see Superman's cape, and Batman's like, And the Batmobile just bumps into him, and that whole scene, I could talk about that and the moment there was. Or the Avengers when they first showed up when Loki was attacking, and they all was in the circle. You see Hulk roaring, and you see Iron Man going down. Or even better yet, the trailer of the Avengers, bro. I never forget. My dad was going crazy because my dad's he was an Iron Man fan, and he loved Robert Downey too. He knew Robert Downey before he became Tony Stark. And when they showed the trailer and you saw the Avengers in circle, my dad was like, just those moments is what makes the situation better. The moment for me like this was the Dark Knight. I saw, because I'm a huge Batman fan. Batman's my favorite one. And I saw I Am Legend. And I'm gonna make videos of these because there's more breakdowns. But when my brother and I watched I Am Legend, and then I hear this music, doom, 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 and I'm like, and then you hear, you change things. And you see the bicycle, you say, hey, you your mind, you're like, is this Batman? And you don't think about it. Then when he said there's no going back, you see Kristen Bell hold the helmet. I was like, and you see Batman land on the car, and you hear Joker say, to them, you're just a freak. And then they show the little pic, you see a little bit of Joker when he says, like me. I feel like I couldn't breathe in the theater. And I never forget, it was another guy on my left side. He was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And we was going crazy. Just that moment, I never forget. We watched I Am Legend, and all I thought about was that trailer. And my brother knew it too because he saw it with I Am Legend with me. He's like, I know you was thinking about that trailer the whole time. But it's moments like that that makes it seem better than a lot of other great scenes. So yes, I can understand when people say that Flash moment when he did to Brainiac and Lex Luthor in the Justice League is probably the best Flash moment. Or like the Zack Snyder Justice League when he was reversing time. But it didn't have the impact of outside the show like it did with that episode of Superman and Flash. Because that was a neighborhood, family moment, all that stuff. And watching it when I was at the gym was a surreal moment. I was like, as I was watching, I'm 34, so that was almost 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago, and I remember that like it was yesterday. There's moments like that you cherish, and I always want to, I just wanted to share that with you. If you had that moment where you watched that episode or other ones, let me know in the comments what was yours. What was your moment or something that always stuck with you? And I'm gonna talk about more because I've seen a lot. Like I said, I'm 34. I have stories upon stories of stuff like this, and like I said, I like to keep it entertainment wise. So like superhero stuff like that, I have tons of it. But that's one of them that I stuck with. I was in the gym lifting, and I was just watching that episode. It just brought back so many great memories. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Let me know what's y'all's. I'll check you later.